Okay. Yeah, then I can edit. I can cut a little bit and edit. So, hello. Here we are with Ted Chiang, a science fiction writer and keynote speaker of the conference A Life 2023, and we will have a short conversation with him. Please, Ted, introduce yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm a science fiction short story writer, and I guess maybe my main claim to fame is that I wrote the story that was the basis for the motion picture Arrival.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ted Chiang is a well-achieved science fiction writer, and he gave a very interesting seminar talking about his work and the role of experience and very deep concepts related to what is to be a living system or a conscious being here in the world. So, because this it's going to be sent to the DICTA Foundation, the Foundation for Interdisciplinary Development of Science, Technology and the Arts, we would like to have a little your take on what is for you to be in between these two realms of science and at the same time science fiction as a writer, which probably brings a little tension between having to conform to somehow to the tradition of science, to the ideas that are floating around science, and then project potential new technologies and then come up with the, as you say, the poetic license and create beautiful stories out of that with an artistic flavor. So, can you please tell us about this wholeness that you live around?
Well, okay, so I became interested in both science and science fiction at around the same time. I was about 11 years old, and I started reading the work of Isaac Asimov. I read both his science fiction and his nonfiction. He wrote a lot of popular nonfiction, popular science for general audience. And it was in reading both those types of his work that I came to really be interested in both how science was a way of understanding how the world worked, but also I became interested in science fiction because of just sort of the pleasures offered by sort of these flights of fantasy that still were sort of couched in the frame of science. And so when I was young, I started trying to write stories, like I said, when I was 11. And when I was back then, I was mostly trying to write adventure stories set in outer space, which I think is probably pretty common for 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
But over time, my interests shifted, but I was always able to find science fiction that reflected my interests. Because as I grew older, I became more interested in things like certain philosophical questions that could be dramatized, and science fiction is very good at that. And over time, my writing changed, and one of the things that I eventually came to learn was that there was a way to combine science and human emotions in a story in a way that they worked together. Because I think it is very common to feel that the scientific content of a story competes with the human emotion in a story, and that if you want to try to give more space to one, you will have to take space away from the other. and I think that is often true for many stories. But I encountered some science fiction where the science reinforced the human emotion. The scientific ideas acted as a metaphor for the human story, and so then the two sides sort of strengthened each other rather than competed.
Yeah.
And that is something that I guess that was something that I found very interesting, and that was a type of science fiction that I became sort of more interested in writing.
Yeah, that's a very nice way to put it. Like creating an entanglement between science and emotions through the narrative of the story. Like, I think I got entirely your point. Very cool. And would like to now make a double click on this entanglement between science fiction and emotions, or philosophical questions that pop up these emotions in the context of a life, and particularly of like artificial intelligence and consciousness and this topic, the ghost in the machine, which was like the common theme for the conference. So being a science fiction writer, kind of futurologist somehow, and well informed in all these new technologies, what do you think that is the next entangled tension, or the next entanglement between science and emotions in this realm of AI and a life?
Well, first I want to just clarify that science fiction is not about predicting the future.
Yeah.
And
Sorry about that.
Sure. But I just want to clarify that, because I think
Yes, it's an important caveat. Yeah.
Yes. So I guess I think that one thing that we need to be thinking about is that we're starting to see software programs that act sort of like people, that and that are designed to evoke emotional reactions that we might otherwise have for people. So now there are companies that sell chatbots as boyfriends or girlfriends, and that's just one example of, I think, a broader trend of products being sold to us that have certain human-like characteristics. And I think it's important to remember that that these are products being sold to us, and that their human-like characteristics are a way to make these products more appealing. But ultimately, they are. This is a commercial transaction. I don't mean that it always has to be, but in the vast majority of cases, when you encounter something like this, there's a company that is trying to sell you something. There's a company that wants you to, they want to retain you as a customer, and so they're going to use a computer-generated pretty face and pleasant-sounding voice in order to sell you something, in order to retain you as a customer. And so I think we have to always be aware of that, because the interactions that we have with other human beings are fundamentally different than the interactions that we will have with these software products that companies are using to sell us something. And as long as we remember that these are mostly just products being sold to us, then I think it won't be so bad. But the tendency to mistake them is something that companies will try. Companies I think will try and take advantage of our tendency to mistake them for like real things, real people.
Yeah. And the more real or the more illusionary real they become, the higher their chance to succeed at that act of forgiveness on our side regarding their productness status rather than their realness status. So yeah, very very interesting to keep thinking along these lines. So well, we will say goodbye because Ted Chiang is a busy guy. So we thank you very much for this little interview, and well, hopefully stay in touch in the future. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh.